Next up, our Spectrum Expert mode. So if we are going to get really, really super custom with our configuration in our Spectrum settings, we would use our Spectrum information, and we could see our NSI states and our .11 radio 0, our radio 1, and our NSI keys if we need to use them in our network. So our NSI keys, our NSI states, and our NSI.11 radios. Now, many of you may be saying, what in the world is this for? I don't remember any of this. Well, this is for, remember, if we're using a spectrum analyzer, we have to have clean air available on the AP. And then we're going to deliver our scanning, or what we found, to like MetaGeek, any Wi-Fi analyzer server in our environment. So this is the information we would need to do that. Next up, IPv6 support. Again, IPv6 support is now enabled by default. Those of you who have taken classes with me in the past, those of you who have been in my VMware class, those of you who have been with me in security, all know how I feel about IPv6. It's coming. There's no way around it. Aaron's out of addresses. We may be able to borrow from other regional addresses, but then we're kind of breaking the system, aren't we? We may be able to reclaim some of the IP addresses that have been handed out. We may even be able to go back to the 127.0.0.0.8 and get some of those IP addresses back. But, you know, it's important to know, at the current growth rate, we just don't have enough numbers to make it work. So really, DHCPv6 is coming. I know I've heard it my entire career too. And I know some of you guys just went, psh, whatever. I've seen it my entire career. It's been coming since the late 90s. I really think in the next 5 to 6 years, it's going to be a completely different story. The majority of people will probably be using DHCP version 6 by then. So this is configured from the GUI or the CLI. Do not be afraid of IPv6 addresses. IPv6 addresses are just in hexadecimal. It's the only thing that changes. No real subnetting going on. Subnetting is a very minor role. No classful addressing. So things have gotten actually better from IPv4 from my perspective, right? I see it as a lot more interesting and a viable solution. So IPv6 enable. This is done by default. You can disable if you want. 5-6 years ago, I saw a lot of servers or cutting edge technologies that had problems with IPv6. So you do have the ability to disable this if you want. You can use your configuration server protocol, so DHCP, autoconfig if you want. This is a FADI address here. Can anyone tell me what a FADI address is? FE80. FE80, FADI. This is a link local address. I know some of you guys got that right out there. So we can configure a link local address right there. Remember, link local is an important address. It is viable on that link only. You can see I have an Anycast address I can list, or an EU64 address. You don't remember those, go back to our IPv6 lesson. We have our reachable time, how long we're going to wait, and then our IPv6 address list. Remember, clients can have up to 8 IPv address depending on the clients, but we can track up to 8 using our wireless LAN controllers. We're not using a wireless LAN controller here, but we can still track multiple IP addresses for a client. And then last but not least, for our autonomous AP configuration, this is important, is that AP priming. Now, AP priming, we talked about. We beat it to death in a while back. Remember, this is, I don't know why they call it AP priming. What we're talking about is regional association. We want to assign ourselves to a particular region. Now, this must be done using manual or a Cisco Air provision. So a manual access, if you're going to do a manual AP priming, this must be done through a mobile device and the Cisco app. Let's see if I can pull it up on my phone. Let's see if you guys can see this. If you see any other applications on my phone, I am not advocating them. I will blame my kids for putting it on there. It's not me. I didn't do it. I have to close down. So here's what you need. I don't know how well you can read it. It's the Cisco Air Provision app. This allows you to prime an AP. So here's what it does, okay? We need a geographic reference for where this AP is because there are different regulations about wireless in Europe than there are here in the United States or even in Asia. So we need a way to track geographically where this AP actually is. So by downloading to your mobile device, tablets work well too, and it's for Android or Apple or whatever, Windows, even if you're using that. I didn't mean that. Okay. So even if you're using Windows, it'll work as well. But what you're trying to do is use the mobile device's ability to geosynchronize itself to locate where it is in the world using either the cell towers or some other cellular form of communication, what it uses for GPS mapping and things like that, to find the region in which this AP should be associated to. So it's basically using your phone to define where you are, then hooking up wirelessly. You're going to use your phone to wirelessly connect to that particular AP, and then it's going to, again, tell that AP what region it's in. Now, one step that everybody seems to miss here when doing this process is please enable universal admin mode. It's right here. It's hidden really well. But take a look. It's under security. And when we have our SSID properties, our universal admin mode is right there. Has to be enabled before you go through this process, before you go through the app itself. You really need to have that enabled so it can associate and you can find out regionally where you are.